Have you ever stopped to notice that something is deeply wrong with the way you're living? I'm not talking about that superficial dissatisfaction that everyone complains about on social media. I'm talking about something deeper, something more visceral. That feeling of being trapped in an existence that repeats itself relentlessly, as if you were just following a script that someone else wrote for you. You wake up, do the same things, have the same thoughts, feel the same frustrations, and when night comes, you wonder where the day went. And the scariest part, you promise that tomorrow will be different, but tomorrow is always the same thing. I know it's hard to hear this, but I need to tell you, this anguish you feel isn't just weakness or laziness, and it might be something beyond the clinical issues you already know about. It's something far more significant. It's the sign that you're starting to perceive a truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Think with me. How many times did you pick up your phone today without even noticing? How many conversations did you have where your mouth was talking, but your mind was miles away? How many times did you get home and can't exactly remember what the route was like? You're there, physically present, but somehow you're not really living it. It's as if there's an autopilot commanding your life, and you're just a passenger watching everything happen through a foggy window. And the worst part is that you try to change. You really try. You make promises to yourself, set goals, buy that course, read that book, watch that motivational video. And it works for a few days, maybe a few weeks. But then, without you noticing, you're back in the same place, doing the same things, feeling the same frustration. It's a cycle that seems impossible to break. I understand perfectly when you feel trapped in this mechanical routine, because it's not just about waking up early or being more productive. It's about something much more fundamental. You work to pay bills that exist because you work. You complain about the same things with the same people. You have the same circular thoughts that lead nowhere. You distract yourself with the same distractions. You promise changes that never happen. And when you finally have a moment of silence, that question emerges from the depths of your mind. Is this it? Is this what living is? Because if it is, then something is terribly wrong. And you're right to feel that way. Because there is something wrong. But it's not what you think. The problem isn't your job. It's not your social life. It's not lack of money or opportunities. The problem is much deeper and at the same time simpler than you imagine. There was a man who dedicated his entire life to understanding exactly this mystery. His name was George Ivanovich Gurdjieff, born in 1866 on the border between Armenia and Greece, at a time when the world still kept ancestral secrets in hidden monasteries and schools of wisdom forgotten by time. Gurdjieff wasn't an armchair philosopher. He wasn't a guru who promised easy enlightenment. He was a seeker obsessed with truth. Someone who traveled through the East for decades, infiltrated secret communities, studied with masters who never gave interviews, learned techniques that few Westerners knew. When he finally arrived in Europe in the early 20th century, he brought with him a revolutionary system about the nature of human consciousness, and this system was brutal in its honesty. Gurdjieff wasn't interested in making you feel good. He was interested in waking you up, and for that, he used methods that many considered shocking, even cruel. He intentionally created uncomfortable situations, challenged his students' illusions without mercy, destroyed the comfortable fantasies that people had about themselves. Why? Because he knew something that most people refuse to accept. He knew that we are not awake. And it's not a poetic metaphor. It's literal. At this exact moment, while you're reading this, you are sleeping. You're in a state of deep sleep, even though your eyes are open and you're processing these words. And this sleep is so deep that you don't even realize you're sleeping. It's like a dream where you don't know you're dreaming. Let me give you some examples of what this means in practice. How many times today did you act without really choosing to act? Someone irritated you and you automatically reacted with anger. You saw a notification and picked up your phone without thinking. You ate what you said you weren't going to eat. You said those words you promised not to say. You had those negative thoughts you swore to avoid. In each of those moments, where were you? Who was in control? The truth is, it wasn't you. It was an automatic mechanism, a program running in your mind, a predictable reaction to a known stimulus. Gurdjieff called this living mechanically. You're not living, you're being lived. Like a sophisticated robot that believes it's human. And here's the most disturbing part. You are not one person. You don't have a unified self, a consistent command center making decisions. You're an uncontrolled crowd of different selves, each one wanting something different, each one fighting for control. The self that decided to wake up early tomorrow to work out isn't the same self that's going to turn off the alarm in a few hours. The self that wants to change your life isn't the same self that's going to sabotage that change at the first difficulty. The self that's reading this now, determined to understand, isn't the same self that's going to forget all of this in a few hours. This internal fragmentation is the reason why you can't keep promises you make to yourself. Because there isn't a real self making these promises. Imagine a company where there's no director. There's just a bunch of employees, each one doing what they want, each one thinking they're the temporary boss when they manage to yell louder than the others. Today, the motivation employee takes command, and you wake up full of plans. In a little while, the laziness employee takes control, and all the plans go down the drain. Then the guilt employee shows up and you feel terrible. After that comes the rationalization employee saying it's not that serious. It's complete chaos. And you, the real you, aren't anywhere in this confusion. You're sleeping in the basement while this uncontrolled crowd runs your life. But wait. You might be thinking, I know I'm awake. I know I make choices. I know I have control over my life. And that's exactly where the danger lies. Gurdjieff called this imagination. It's the most powerful illusion that exists. You imagine that you're conscious. You imagine that you have free will. You imagine that your actions are deliberate choices. But look at your life with brutal honesty. How many times did you really choose consciously to do what you did? And when I say consciously, I'm not talking about having a thought about doing something before doing it. I'm talking about being completely present, completely awake, completely you in the moment of action. If you're honest, you'll realize these moments are extremely rare. Maybe you've never experienced even one. The truth that Gurdjieff discovered is that we are extremely sophisticated biological machines. This isn't pessimism, it's an observable fact. You were programmed by your genes, which decided your basic temperament even before you were born. You were programmed by your childhood traumas, which created reaction patterns that you repeat to this day. You were programmed by your culture, which installed values and beliefs that you didn't even choose to have. You were programmed by your education, by your relationships, by your habits repeated thousands of times until they became automatic. And now you're a complex system of programs running simultaneously, each one reacting to environmental stimuli in a predictable way. Someone criticizes you, and the defense program is activated. You see something you desire, and the pleasure-seeking program takes over. You face a difficulty, and the escape program is initiated. There's no real you choosing these responses. They're just programs executing their functions. And the scariest part is that these programs are so predictable that anyone who knows you well can predict exactly how you're going to react in certain situations. Because you always react the same way. Always. You're a machine executing the same loops infinitely. And the biggest proof of this is simple. If you had real control, you would have already changed everything you wanted to change. But you didn't. Because the machine can't fix itself. Now you might be feeling something uncomfortable rising inside you. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's despair, maybe it's denial. And I need to tell you something important. This discomfort you're feeling is real. That emptiness you feel when you're alone, that sensation of being trapped in a life that doesn't seem like yours, that anguish of watching the years go by while you remain the same. All of this is absolutely real and legitimate. Gurdjieff taught that this suffering is actually a signal. It's your true essence, suffocated under layers of mechanicalness, screaming for freedom. It's the real part of you, the one that rarely manages to emerge, trying to wake you up. The pain isn't the problem. The pain is the call. But here's something you need to understand. Most people are going to feel this call and are going to choose to ignore it. Not because they're weak or bad, but because sleep is comfortable. Unconsciousness protects us from hard truths, from total responsibility, from the hard work that would be necessary to awaken. It's much easier to keep blaming circumstances, other people, the economy, society, luck. It's much easier to believe that one day things will magically get better, that you'll find the perfect solution that doesn't require effort. Gurdjieff said something brutal but true. Humanity loves its prison. Because the prison is familiar, it's known, it's safe. Real freedom is scary, because it requires that you be truly responsible for yourself. If you're enjoying this content, You might also like our exclusive material that's in the first pinned comment. And here we arrive at the crucial point. There is a way out of this prison. There is a path to awakening. But this path has a price. And the price is high. So high that very few people are willing to pay it. Gurdjieff called this price intentional suffering. It's not suffering in the sense of masochistic pain or self-flagellation. It's the suffering of conscious effort, of struggle against your own mechanicalness, of resistance to your automatic impulses. It's the suffering of seeing yourself with brutal honesty, without justifications, without rationalizations. It's the suffering of going against the current of your mechanical nature at every moment, knowing that at any second you can be pulled back to sleep. Imagine you're in a river being carried by the current. This current is your mechanicalness, your habits, your automatic programs. Swimming against this current requires constant, painful, exhausting effort. Any moment you relax, the current takes you back, and you're going to swim against this current for the rest of your life. You'll never reach a point where you can stop swimming. That's the price. And most people, when they understand this, give up before they even begin. Because they want the magic formula, the secret technique, the shortcut that makes everything easy. But there is no shortcut. There's only the work. And the work never ends. The first tool that Gurdjieff offers for this work is self-observation. It seems simple, but it's one of the hardest things you're going to try to do. It's observing yourself like a scientist observes an experiment. Without judgment, without trying to change, just observing. Observe your automatic thoughts arising. Observe your emotional reactions firing. Observe your physical habits manifesting. Observe how you speak without thinking, how you act without choosing, how you feel without control. And here's the trick. Don't try to change anything yet. Just observe. Because Gurdjieff knew something fundamental. You can't change what you can't see. And right now, you don't see almost anything that's happening inside you. Try doing this now for a minute. Observe your thoughts arising. Not the thoughts themselves, but the fact that they're arising. Are you choosing these thoughts? Are you consciously creating them? Or do they just appear, one after another, like clouds passing in the sky? Observe your posture at this moment. Did you choose this posture? Did you consciously decide to position your body this way? Or did it just happen? Observe any tension in your body. Did you know you were tense? Did you decide to be tense? This exercise is going to show you something scary. Almost nothing that happens in you is conscious or chosen. It's all automatic. And self-observation is the first step to start creating real consciousness, where before there was only mechanism. But observing alone isn't enough. Gurdjieff taught something he called self-remembering. It's different from simply being attentive to the external world. It's being present not just to what's happening around you, but being present to yourself while it's happening. It's like adding a second dimension to your consciousness. Normally, when you're doing something, you're completely lost in it. You're identified. When you're angry, you are the anger. When you're in traffic, you are the traffic. When you're working, you are the work. Self-remembering is maintaining a part of your consciousness observing you while all of this is happening. It's as if normally, you were an actor completely lost in the character, forgetting that there's a stage, an audience, a world beyond the play. Self-remembering is the actor maintaining a part of themselves conscious that they're acting, even while interpreting the role with intensity. It's being present to your own presence. And this is incredibly difficult because the machine constantly pulls you back to total identification. You can try now. While reading this, try to be conscious not just of the words, but of you reading the words. Conscious of your body sitting or standing, conscious of your breathing happening, conscious of you existing in this moment, here now. Can you feel the difference? Can you notice how difficult it is to maintain this for more than a few seconds before being pulled back to autopilot? Gurdjieff taught that we need to create what he called intentional shocks. They're situations you create purposefully to interrupt your mechanicalness. It can be something simple like using your non-dominant hand to brush your teeth. Your brain is so used to doing this automatically with the other hand that when you switch, it's forced to pay attention. It can be changing the route you take every day to work. It can be talking to someone you would normally ignore. It can be doing something small that you've always had resistance to doing. The point isn't the act itself. The point is creating intentional discomfort that forces you to wake up, even if just for a few moments. Gurdjieff was famous for creating these situations for his students. He would give an absurd task and observe how the person reacted mechanically. He would insult someone for no apparent reason to see if the person could observe their own anger without being consumed by it. He would constantly change the rules so that no one could get comfortable in established patterns. This seems cruel, but it had a clear purpose. Mechanicalness loves comfort and predictability. Every time you do something the same way, you reinforce the automatic program. Every time you break the pattern, you create an opportunity for real consciousness to emerge. Discomfort is simultaneously the price you pay and the method you use. Another fundamental practice is what Gurdjieff called non-identification. It's the ability to observe your emotions and thoughts without being totally consumed by them. Normally, when anger arises, you become the anger. You are anger. Your entire consciousness is swallowed by that emotion, and you act from it completely. Non-identification is creating space between you and the emotion. When anger arises, instead of "I am angry," you observe, "There is anger here." It seems like a small difference, but it's revolutionary, because it creates a distance, a separation, a space where consciousness can exist. It's like the difference between being trapped inside a tornado and observing the tornado from afar. Inside the tornado, you're thrown in all directions without control. Observing from afar, you can see the tornado for what it is, a natural phenomenon that arises and passes. Your emotions are internal tornadoes: fear, anger, sadness, anxiety, euphoria. They arise, have their cycle, and pass. But normally you're so identified with them that you believe you are them. Gurdjieff taught that every time you completely identify with an emotion or thought, you lose vital energy, you lose consciousness, you go back to sleep. Non-identification is the practice of staying separate, of observing without being swallowed. And this is one of the hardest practices that exists, because your automatic programs desperately want you to identify with everything. You need to understand something important. This work never ends. There's no arrival point where you awaken completely and can relax. Consciousness isn't a permanent state you achieve. It's a moment-to-moment work, breath by breath for the rest of your life. And when you hear this, you might feel discouraged. You might think it's not worth it. But let me show you the other side. This means that every instant is a new opportunity. You don't need to have been conscious yesterday. You don't need to worry about tomorrow. You only need to be present now, in this moment. And now. And now. Every second that you're truly awake is a victory against mechanicalness. Every moment of self-observation is a crack in the prison. Every instant of self-remembering is a taste of real freedom. And here's something Gurdjieff understood deeply. The work itself is the reward. There's no prize waiting at the end. The prize is being alive now, truly alive, not just functioning on autopilot. It's experiencing life directly instead of through the filter of your mechanical programs. It's feeling your emotions completely, but not being enslaved by them. It's thinking your thoughts, but not being imprisoned by them. It's having a body, but not being just a body. It's discovering that there's something in you, a presence, a consciousness, that is prior to all the programs, prior to all the fragmented selves, prior to all the mechanicalness, something that is truly you. This discovery doesn't come from a sudden mystical revelation. It doesn't come from a moment of enlightenment where everything makes sense. It comes from 1,000 small moments of conscious struggle. It comes from all the times you observed yourself when it was easier to simply react. It comes from all the times you remembered yourself when the machine wanted to pull you back to sleep. It comes from all the times you created an intentional shock to wake up. It comes from all the times you didn't identify with an overwhelming emotion. Each of these small acts of consciousness is like a drop of water on a stone. Alone, they seem insignificant, but over time, they transform the entire landscape. And you need to know that you're going to fail. Many times. You're going to have moments of consciousness and then you're going to sleep for days. You're going to observe yourself clearly, and then you're going to completely identify with the next emotion that arises. You're going to remember yourself on Monday and completely forget on Tuesday. You're going to create intentional shocks for a week and then go back to old patterns for a month. And that's normal. That's part of the process. Mechanicalness is powerful because it was built over decades. You're fighting against the force of psychological gravity. Don't expect easy victories or linear progress. Expect a long war, with with many battles lost, but where every small victory counts. Gurdjieff didn't offer cheap comfort or empty promises. He told the brutal truth. Most people are going to continue sleeping until they die. They're going to go through life in a deep trance, mechanically reacting to stimuli, believing they're alive when in reality they're just functioning. And when death comes, they're going to realize, maybe in the last seconds, that they never really lived, that they spent an entire lifetime on autopilot, that they were just sophisticated machines executing complex programs. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can choose differently. You can decide to pay the price, because the price is real, but the reward is too. And the reward isn't perpetual happiness or guaranteed success or a life without problems. The reward is you, the real you. Not the collection of fragmented selves fighting for control. Not the machine executing programs. But that central presence, that real consciousness that witnesses everything but isn't defined by anything. This is the essence that's suffocated under layers of mechanicalness. This is the part of you that feels that deep anguish, because it knows, on some level, that there's something more. And it's right. There is something more. The question you need to answer now, with total honesty, is this. Are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to suffer intentionally, to fight against your mechanical nature, to observe yourself brutally, to wake up moment after moment knowing you're going to fall asleep again, to do this work for the rest of your life without guarantee of external reward? Or do you prefer to keep sleeping, keep believing in comfortable illusions, keep being a machine that imagines itself human? There's no judgment in either choice. But there are consequences, and the only person who's going to live with these consequences is you. If you choose the path of awakening, know that you're entering a territory where few venture. You're going to discover things about yourself that are uncomfortable. You're going to realize how much you're not in control. You're going to see your mechanicalness in action, and you're going to feel powerless countless times. You're going to have moments where you're going to want to give up because the work is too hard. And in those moments, you're going to have to remember why you started. You're going to have to remember that anguish that brought you here, that feeling of living a life that isn't yours, that pain of watching the years go by while you remain the same. That pain was a signal, a call, and you answered. You can start now, literally now. Observe yourself in this moment. Are you tense somewhere in your body? Are your thoughts racing or are they calm? Are you truly here or are you partially somewhere else, planning the next thing, remembering the past? Just observe. Don't judge, don't try to change, just see. This is the first step. This is the first payment of the price. And if you can do this, truly do this, even if just for 10 seconds, you just experience something that most people never experience. A moment of real consciousness. A moment where you weren't sleeping. A moment where you were truly you. And now, the question that remains is, are you going to do this again? And again? And again? Because that's what Gurdjieff is offering you. Not a magical state of permanent enlightenment, but the possibility of being truly alive moment by moment, paying the price with every breath, but experiencing the real freedom that comes from not being enslaved by your automatic programs. It's an offer brutal in its honesty, but it's a real offer. And maybe it's the only real offer you're going to receive in life. The question isn't whether the path is difficult. You already know it is. The question is whether you have the courage to walk it anyway. And if you want to go deeper, check out in the first pinned comment our exclusive ebook, Alchemy and Archetypes. The journey of awakening is solitary, but it doesn't need to be done completely alone. If this message resonated with you, if you felt there's something here worth exploring, consider subscribing to the channel. Not for me, but because each person who chooses to awaken strengthens the possibility of collective awakening.